Excuse me, miss.
Yes? Can I help you?
I need to speak with you. It's important.
The tip that changed everything. The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner hummed their familiar tune as Maya Rodriguez wiped down table 7 for what felt like the 100th time that shift. Her daughter Emma, just 2 years old, sat tucked in the corner booth with her coloring book, occasionally glancing up with those big hazel eyes that made every exhausting day worth it. "Mommy working," Emma would say matter-of-factly whenever another waitress passed by, and Maya's heart would clench with equal parts love and guilt. It had been 14 months since Jake left, 14 months of juggling double shifts, daycare schedules, and the crushing weight of bills that seemed to multiply like rabbits. Maya's sister usually watched Emma, but today she was sick, leaving Maya no choice but to bring her daughter to work. Her manager, Lou, had grumbled, but ultimately allowed it, probably because Maya was his most reliable server and he knew it. The dinner rush was winding down when he walked in. Maya noticed him immediately. Everyone did. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, and he carried himself with that particular kind of confidence that comes from never having worried about money. She recognized him vaguely. His face had been in the local paper a few weeks ago. Something about a real estate development deal. Robert Chambers, that was his name. One of those billionaires who collected properties like other people collected refrigerator magnets. He took a seat at table 12, her section, and Maya smoothed her apron before approaching. "Good evening, sir. What can I get you tonight?" He barely looked up from his phone. "Coffee, black, and the meatloaf special. Coming right up." For the next 45 minutes, Maya watched him from the corner of her eye as she tended to her other tables. He ate methodically, answered several phone calls in a low voice that spoke of million-dollar decisions, and never once smiled. When he finally signaled for the check, Maya brought it over promptly. "Thank you for dining with us," she said with practiced cheerfulness. He pulled out a platinum credit card without a word. Maya processed the payment and returned with the receipt. He signed it with a flourish, stood up, adjusted his cufflinks, and walked out. She didn't need to look at the receipt to know what she'd find, or rather, what she wouldn't find. $0, 0 cents, on a $67 check. Maya felt the familiar sting of disappointment but swallowed it down. It wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last. Rich people, she'd learned, were often the worst tippers. It was the regulars, the construction workers, the nurses coming off shift, the elderly couples on fixed incomes, who understood what it meant to work for every dollar. She began clearing table 12, stacking the plates with practiced efficiency. As she lifted his dinner plate, something underneath caught her eye. It was a business card, but not just any business card. Underneath it was a folded piece of paper, and underneath that, a single key. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she picked up the note. In precise, elegant handwriting it read, "Every day for 3 weeks, I've watched you. You arrive early. You never complain. You treat every customer with kindness, even the rude ones. You balance your daughter on your hip while refilling coffee, and you never let her feel like a burden. You are what most people claim to be but aren't. Genuinely good." The key is to apartment 412 at Heritage Towers on Maple Street. The lease is paid for 2 years. The apartment is furnished and comes with a daycare voucher for Emma at the building's childcare center. Before you refuse out of pride, understand this: I'm not giving this to you. I'm investing in you. The only condition is that you use the stability to build something better, for yourself and for your daughter. I made my first billion because someone gave me a chance when I didn't deserve one. You've earned this 1,000 times over. The $0 tip was intentional. I needed you to find this after I left. I'm not good at face-to-face sentimentality. RCPS, the business card, is for a friend who runs a nursing program at the community college. I noticed the textbook you read during your breaks. He's expecting your call. Maya read the note 3 times, her vision blurring with tears. She looked at the key, a simple brass key that somehow weighed more than anything she'd ever held. She glanced at the business card. Dr. Patricia Morrison, Director of Nursing, Riverside Community College. Emma toddled over, tugging at her apron. "Mommy crying?" "Happy tears, baby," Maya managed, scooping her daughter up. "Happy tears." She looked through the diner window just in time to see the silver Mercedes pull away from the curb. For a brief moment she could have sworn she saw Robert Chambers glance back through the window, the ghost of a smile on his usually stern face. 3 weeks earlier, Robert Chambers had been having the worst day of a particularly terrible month. His ex-wife's lawyers were circling like sharks, his daughter hadn't returned his calls in weeks, and the acquisition deal he'd spent 6 months negotiating had fallen through that morning. He'd told his driver to just pick somewhere, anywhere, to eat, and they'd ended up at Rosie's diner. That's when he first saw her. The young waitress with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, moving through the diner with purposeful grace. What caught his attention wasn't her appearance, it was the way she worked. There was a quiet dignity to it, a competence that reminded him of his own mother, who'd worked 3 jobs to keep him fed after his father left. He came back the next day, and the day after that. He told himself it was because the meatloaf was decent and the coffee was strong, but really he was curious. He watched her handle difficult customers with patience, watched her study a nursing textbook during her 10-minute breaks, watched her eyes light up every time she looked at the little girl in the corner booth. On his 5th visit, he overheard her on the phone during her break. Her voice strained. "I understand, but I can't. I just need another month. Please." Medical bills, he guessed. Or rent. Or both. The desperation in her voice was carefully controlled, professional even in crisis. Just like his mother had been. That night, Robert did something he hadn't done in years. He called in a favor from an old friend who owned Heritage Towers and made arrangements. He contacted Patricia Morrison, who'd been pestering him to fund nursing scholarships. He had his assistant research every detail, ensuring everything would be legal, appropriate, and truly helpful. And then he hatched his plan. Present-day Maya stood in apartment 412, Emma's hand in hers, hardly believing what she was seeing. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The kitchen had modern appliances that actually worked. There were 2 bedrooms, with real beds and clean linens. The closet in the smaller bedroom was already stocked with children's books and toys appropriate for Emma's age. On the kitchen counter sat a folder. Inside was the lease agreement in her name, the daycare enrollment forms, and a handwritten note. "Use this time wisely. I'll be checking in. Not because I doubt you, but because everyone needs someone in their corner. You've got this." RC 3 years later, Maya walked across the stage at Riverside Community College accepting her nursing degree with honors. In the audience sat Emma, now 5, clapping wildly next to Robert Chambers, who'd somehow become an unlikely but steadfast mentor and friend. After the ceremony, Maya found him in the crowd. "I still can't believe you did all this," she said. "You didn't even know me." Robert adjusted his tie, looking uncomfortable with the emotion of the moment. "I knew enough. Besides, I told you. It was an investment. Best one I ever made." "The $0 tip still bothers me, though," Maya teased. For the first time since she'd known him, Robert Chambers laughed. A real, genuine laugh. Sometimes the best tip isn't money. Sometimes it's a chance. Emma tugged at Maya's graduation gown. "Mommy, can we celebrate at Rosie's?" Maya looked at Robert, who shrugged. "I could go for some meatloaf." As they walked toward the parking lot, Maya realized that the scared single mother from 3 years ago would never have believed this moment possible. But here she was, educated, stable, hopeful. All because someone left a $0 tip and believed she was worth more than money could measure. Sometimes the smallest gestures, a key, a note, a chance, change everything.